How's it going out there tonight? Whoa.
You stumped me now.
Check out our website, mannimalresearch.com. Thanks to everybody. Hello. How's it going out there tonight? Hope everyone is doing well. Those of you that are hanging out with us live tonight, those of you that will catch it later, we sure do appreciate your support. Thank you so very much for hanging out with us on another episode. As always, I am joined by my partner in crime over there, Mr. Jasper Walls. How's it going tonight, buddy?
Hey, bud. Not much. Pretty tired. We're running Florida runs. We got back in late last night.
So now, how often do you do a Florida run?
Just whenever, kind of need it because I'm fixing to go on vacation down to Hollywood down 1st of September. So kind of getting the money up just a little bit. That's a long ride.
Well, I certainly understand that, but who we got hanging out with us tonight? Of course, Sandra Piper. How you doing, ma'am? Ron Martin. Thank you for stopping by, sir. Backwoods Cryptid. You know who that is?
Yep.
And Parkway. What's up, buddy? Stash man. A lot of our usuals hanging out with us tonight. All right, man. Let's go ahead and get all this stuff going. Ask everybody, if you have not done so already, hit that subscribe button. We sure would appreciate it. The show is continuing to grow, and we certainly appreciate that. Also, if you guys have had an encounter and would like to be a guest on the show, all you got to do is hit us up at our email, mannimalresearch@yahoo.com. Be glad to talk to you about getting on and sharing your experience with us. The most important thing we can do in this community, in my opinion, more so than the field work, in my opinion, is sharing the experiences. Hey, buddy, you know what that camera off button does, don't you?
I didn't need it. I'm getting my phone.
Okay.
I had to charge it.
Nah, just making sure. All right. We are on Facebook as well. Everybody's got a Facebook. You're on Facebook. Ain't no sense in denying it. So head on over to Mannimal Research and join our group and get part of the discussion. Tonight, we have Mr. Chris Bossy joining us. Chris is a first-time author. He wrote, let me just go ahead and pull it up here. There we go, Bigfoot Brothers. It is a fictional book. Like I said, this is Chris's first attempt at writing, and he's doing really well. Making some sales over there on Amazon. He's come on tonight to talk about the book and also to share some of the experiences that he and his brother have had. They get out in the field and do a little bit of research as well. Chris is a Baptist preacher from out in California. So you guys know how I feel about, certain types of people that have had encounters that come on and share. And preachers, they're right up there, man. A man of God saying that they've experienced something, that you've got to pay attention to that. Just like law enforcement people, military, ex and former military and current military, doctors, lawyers, reputable people, are seeing and having these encounters. So Chris is just another example of that. So we're going to bring him on here in just a minute. But before we do so, just a quick update. Some of you that follow us on Facebook, you know that my episode of Sasquatch Odyssey was released today. I did an episode with Brian over there at Sasquatch Odyssey, and it was released today. And some other news, Brian has asked. He reached out and asked if we would mind if he shared our interviews with Janice Carter. And I told him, yeah, that would be fine. Just that would be awesome. He wasn't familiar with Janice's story. He had heard a little bit about the story, but he wasn't familiar with her, and has looked into her a little bit and finds the whole story interesting. So he's like remastering, re-editing our episodes, and gonna do it in two parts because we interviewed her twice, and gonna do the first one this Sunday on Sasquatch Odyssey. You'll be able to hear it there. And then the second one he's going to do a week from Sunday. And we are talking about maybe getting me back on there at some point to talk a little more about the Janice Carter stuff. But yeah, guys, if you don't already follow Sasquatch Odyssey, you're missing out. Get over there and check Brian out. He does a great job. It's just a super cool guy too. He's also going to be speaking at our Squatch Out that we got coming up in October. He's going to be one of our guest speakers. So yeah, well, you got anything going on, bud, before we go any further?
Just planning on trying to do a thing like I told you before. Doing that little. I'll try to do a little live with the Bigfoot and things, and kind of just gonna try to debunk some things that happen. Because I want to make sure I'm gonna clear. I'm trying to clear it fully from us. You know what I'm talking about, and so I'm gonna be doing it on sometime. I'm gonna be in the battlefield and go full bore in that, and I'm gonna debunk it because it's eating at me. I wanted to clear the name.
It's eating at me too, man. It really is. You saw the post I shared this week in the group, and the more I thought about it, the more it just gets to me. And I mean, for those that don't know, we did a couple shows from the battlefield last year, and had an incident happen with the former member, and it's starting to look like that might have been fabricated on his end. And I don't know. We'll go into it at a later date. You're going to go out there and look into it, do a little more digging, and yeah, let us know what you find out there.
Oh well, yeah, I'll have it notified and share it and everything that way everybody sees, and then come in and talk. And
all right.
The one, getting out there and actually doing a live right there, and in that same spot and not losing signal, that's going to be automatically debunked right there, because it's how it fell out. I lost signal when I got there, so that's going to be one of the first debunked thing there is.
I don't know. I mean, there's more. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it at a later day. We'll save that for another time. One more thing before we get going. A couple of y'all last week asked how my daughter was doing. And I didn't have anything ready to share last week. It was our first show back, and I wasn't prepared. But she's doing great. There she is, thinking she owns the place. Yeah, man. I started doing these episodes, Mannimal research, before she was even thought about. And then I announced on the show that my wife Jordan was pregnant, and then had her, and now she is just over a year old. That's when she saw Bigfoot for the first time, right there. There was a Bigfoot in our backyard. That was her expression. Yeah, it's like she's grown up in this. She's got her little Bigfoot dolls and stuffed animals that she sleeps with. So raising her right. All right, man. You ready to bring Chris on?
Yeah, I like to know. I'm kind of interested in this book now. I might have to go find it and buy it.
Yeah, definitely. You can pick you up a copy. Let's get Chris on and get this thing going. You ready, bud?
Yeah, man.
Chris, how you doing tonight, buddy?
Hey, doing wonderful. Just enjoying the California sun.
Oh, I bet. I bet, man. First off, very first, let me thank you for taking the time to hang out with us tonight. I really do appreciate it.
Welcome.
And secondly, congratulations on the release of your book. That's really cool, man. You got to be excited.
I'm just thrilled. This is my first book that's actually made it to getting published. I had another book almost 2/3 written, and then accidentally deleted the file. And
Wow.
then I couldn't write for a while. I just was so disgusted, But this one's taken about 3.5 years, and so just this was my first published book, and just so excited to get this started. I've got about 13 or 14 more books outlined and ready to start being written. So this is just the beginning.
Now, you said you've got others outlined ready to get going, or are you going to try to stay in the same family, or?
Yeah. My favorite topic is Bigfoot for fiction and for creative writing, and so I'm going to do some of that. I may do some children's books also that are for young children, but really Bigfoot's my favorite topic. That's what I love talking about and looking for and thinking about and researching, investigating. So I really enjoy that topic, and that'll be the vein of what I write about.
Well, it gets in your blood, don't it? This whole Bigfoot thing, it grabs a hold.
It sure does. Ever since I was a little kid and saw In Search of, and of course, all the shows in the early 70s where Bigfoot was on, and $6 Million Man, and a lot of other shows, and some of those investigation shows that were out. And then, of course, Boggy Creek, Legend of Boggy Creek, and it just captured my imagination. And actually, my first nightmare was we had a babysitter. I think I must have been 5 years old. We had a babysitter that let us stay up and watch a King Kong movie. And it was an old King Kong movie. It was like a red, hairy King Kong, but you're young, you're 5. And I went to bed that night. We jumped in bed when Mom pulled up in the driveway, went to bed, and I had nightmares about that red, hairy King Kong. And I think that cemented this idea of a hairy, gorilla-like, ape-like creature. And then as I grew and saw the TV shows and said, wow, there's really something out there. So it just is in my mind and captivated me since I was a little kid.
Yeah, I mean that you kind of spoke to it already. I was gonna ask you what led you to write this book, or is there anything else that you can kind of speak to that made you decide to go ahead and take this step?
There's something about the adrenaline rush of being terrified in the dark and being afraid out of your element, out in the woods at night. There's something that gets the adrenaline pumping, and that fight or flight adrenaline that happens in your body. And if when you learn that if you go out there on purpose and you're feeling that rush, when you're hiking in the dark at night, and you're thinking, wow, I could walk into a bear right now,
Mm-hmm.
Or something. And it definitely adds some excitement to your life, and it can be quite addictive.
No, absolutely, absolutely. So, when did you said you and your brother, yeah, y'all decided to go out and do some investigating yourself? When did y'all first do that?
You know, we would always talk about Bigfoot when we were little kids. We'd go up to visit relatives in Oregon, and so we were always looking, but and trying to find footprints and evidence and whatever. But we actually started doing our own thing. I had done a couple of the expeditions that the BFRO does. I'd done about 4 or 5 of those um, in California, and so they're fun. You meet other people that are interested in the topic, and they show you some things, and you go out at night and do some some activities, and so you learn. But I finally said, you know what, I want to start doing my own and with my brother, and so we just started from there. So kind of got my feet wet with them to see if there were some techniques and stuff I didn't know about, and meet some other people, and then now just my brother and I go every year, and together. He's my twin brother, so we go every year for a week, and then we go on our own, uh, with various other times during the year.
Okay, very cool. Now, what did you learn from your time in the field with the BFRO guys on those expeditions? What did you take away from those expeditions, either positive or negative, things that you wanted, that you thought were beneficial, that you wanted to try on your own, and then maybe some things that you saw that didn't really work, or you didn't really understand, that you tried to stay away from?
Yeah, I think the things that were beneficial was just getting more training on how to do casting prints. How do you do that in real fine dust? There's a trick with some heavy duty hairspray where you spray that on the fine dust to kind of stick it together, and then you pour the cast, and
Mhm.
pouring it in a way that it doesn't disturb. So those things were helpful. Learning those little tricks when you're trying to pour some casts of some prints. And so I thought that was great. I think the thing that was challenging was if you have a large group, and they may break us up into a few different groups and have one group, a couple people in a car with a 360 night vision stuff, and a couple people, another group doing a hike over there, and another group doing some calls from another mountain, and you're kind of all, they have multiple groups. But the thing that was hard was when there's so many people in the group, that it just felt like um, we're so noisy in the woods, and
Mhm.
so many people, and not everyone follows instructions, or it's hard when one person is scared and the other person wants to step forward and investigate what they think they just saw, and you're held back because there's someone there that's not comfortable. So stuff like that. I think just, it's a real large group. It's hard to get everyone always on the same page and to be stealthy.
Yeah, and that makes perfect sense. Now, how many? I know I'm a little bit familiar with the BFR expeditions. I've never gone on one, but they break you up into smaller groups. How many people were in typically in a small group?
Well, so if there were, say there were 22 people there, okay, then they'd have one group go to a certain area, and then sometimes you just have those two groups. You have one group go to one area over there, and then the other half will go to a meadow, to another area at the edge of a meadow to work that area. And so, I mean, it's not like you were in a small group of just 2 or 3 people. You're in a
Yeah.
small group of a dozen people. You know,
How
um,
how far apart are the groups usually, Chris?
it depends on which trip we're talking about. We had one of the trips, one of the locations. we were probably one group went to probably a mile a mile at least a mile away from our base camp in one direction, and the other group went probably a half mile away from the base camp in the other direction. So those two groups were so far apart you couldn't call back and forth, you couldn't hear each other.
Okay.
In that situation. But,
that's what I was kind of in my head. I was like, sounds like it'd be just too close, and you don't know if you're hearing one group yelling back at you and they're hearing this. And
right.
I mean,
well, everyone has walkie-talkies, and so they are, coordinated in that way, as long as everyone's batteries hold up, where you can say, I just heard something. Did you guys do a call over there, and all that kind of communication? So trying to coordinate when you're going to do a knock or a call, if a group's going to do one, letting everyone else know. So they're pretty good at that as far as coordinating that, so we don't get those false positives.
Right. Now, Chris, one of the things that we started out doing in our group, Mannimal Research, when we were new at the expeditions, we had never been on one. We basically just went out there and it was trial and error, seeing what worked, seeing what didn't, just what we'd seen on TV, basically. One of the things that we did early on was what we called night hikes, to where we would go out, like you had kind of alluded to earlier, was walking around in the woods where it's dark, pitch black, and you're not familiar with the area, and you're walking around, and it's my belief that you're never going to sneak up on one of these things. It's just not going to happen. So we have since stopped doing those as a group. I just believe that you have more success if you just stay put. That these things are, and again, it's my opinion, these things are curious about you. We are their entertainment. They're going to come and check us out. They know if we're in the woods, and basically, I don't think the night hikes do much good. I think that if you just go camping, do your own thing, just don't act like you're there looking for them, and just hang out. That if there's anything there, they're going to come check you out. Is that kind of what you have found, or do you find the walking around in the woods beneficial?
Yeah, I think more often than not, the being at the campsite, and you'll start to hear things around, moving around, and wood knocks or calls or different things going on. I think we're experiencing that more than we are when we try to do a night hike. Now, we have had activity on a night hike, and I'd like to share that story in a while, but for the most part, my brother is a huge fan of let's just stay in the camp. And I kind of like that he read too many of the David Pilates 411 books, so he's a little chicken about hiking in the dark. But I kind of like the adrenaline of hiking, off trail in the dark and that kind of thing. So, but we most of the time lately we've been doing a lot of stuff where we're more in the camp at night, and we're having some things happen. So, I guess either can work, but I think we're finding more activity when we stay in the camp.
Yeah. That's what we found. That's what we found too. Now, you just said that you're having some success staying in camp. Well, what are you guys finding?
Well, we kind of note when we hear the wood knocks, and we started realizing that if we got up from the campfire and went to walk to the tent, that we'd hear a wood knock. And then, whenever we moved around the camp, when we got up and changed positions, if we went to the car, we'd hear a knock, almost like there was something signaling that there's movement happening or something. But we sometimes we'd go ahead and do a knock on a fallen tree and do a knock, and then we'd sit down and we'd time how long it took before we heard a response of some kind. And so just kind of that, it's interesting whenever there's activity where you're changing, if you're both going into the tent for a minute or you're both going in the car, or arriving or leaving, you hear some knocks happen. So we've heard that. We were at one place in the Stanislaus National Forest, and this sneeze, kind of that tickle in the nose, it kind of sneaks up on you, that sneeze. And so I just started sneezing. This real, I'm not a quiet sneezer unless I try to hold it in, but then my eyes bulge. So I just snuck up on me, and I sneezed about 3 or 4 times in a row. And it's that real forceful sneeze that you don't expect, And then something started responding from up on the mountain, and it went off for about 15 minutes, just kind of doing this weird call. And it was weird because it wasn't like a coyote howling. It kind of would start high pitch and then go low, not really like working from low to high, but it was really, we had never heard anything like that before. We don't.
Do you think it was trying to mimic the sneeze sound?
I don't know. My theory is because, there's such force in a sneeze, that the volume, the decibels of that sneeze, you can't, when you try to yell, you can't quite get the same power that happens when you get a really loud sneeze that comes out of you like that. So I don't know if it's the decibels that happen, but I think it triggered this thing to do some calls back, whatever it was. And we believe it was a Bigfoot, but we tried to listen to coyote calls and all kinds of calls, and we hadn't heard anything close. And owl calls, we hadn't heard anything close to what we heard on that trip.
Now, Mr. Ron Martin here has asked a question. He asked, I wonder what attracts a Bigfoot, and I kind of spoke to it a little bit earlier. I said I think they're just curious about us, that we're their entertainment, and if we're out there, they're going to come check us out. So I think that we attract them. That's my opinion. Obviously, there are other things that could attract them. Well, what do you think, Chris? What attracts a Bigfoot?
Yeah, I think definitely I'm kind of the camp that it's a biological creature, that it's a ape type creature. And so I think of a primate, I think of chimpanzees and gorillas and orangutans. They're pretty curious creatures. And I think if you're in the woods and you're not normally there, you're the entertainment, you're the television show. And so I think they come around to see what's going on. Are you hunting? Are you taking their food supply? Are you dangerous? Are you, what's going on? And at dark, when it's dark, they can sneak up pretty close and you can't see them, So there's a lot more. They're in their element. You're not in your element. And when it's dark, they can move around pretty good and keep an eye on you from wherever they want to, and you can't really see them at all unless you have night vision or thermal imaging equipment.
Yeah. Now, you kind of beat me to one of the main questions I wanted to ask you, which was, are you more in the biological camp or on the, I guess you'd call it woo. Some people don't like that term, but I mean, it is what it is, or just the woo thing. But you said that you're more in the biological camp. Have you seen or heard anything out in your studies, your research investigations that might make you think differently about that?
No, I think the strangest thing is I've seen some red eye glow. I would think but it's so weird looking. It doesn't look like it's not what you expect. It looks more like the reflector on a bicycle, a red reflector on a bicycle, but it also looks like it's like what I saw looked like it was almost electrified.
Really?
Yeah, and it was big and it was red and it was peeking out from behind a tree. And I would see one, and then you see it like blink and open its eye again. But I didn't see two. I only saw one, like it's peeking around a tree and just have one eye. And so I don't know But I checked that same tree in the daytime. There was no reflectors on that tree or anything. So I don't know what that was. But
Now, was there anything that could have been putting out a light that would cause a reflection, or do you feel like it was more like self-illuminating?
yeah, I think the no, there was nothing that could have been reflecting. Um, I don't expect the campfire to reflect that far away. It was a good distance away behind a tree, and so it wasn't in the firelight. It was beyond the firelight, where you could still see the tree over the shape of the tree. But it was not close enough to reflect that firelight.
Right. I mean, Brian from the host of Sasquatch Odyssey has joined us here. He's checking it out. He says here the red eye shine is something that folks have described to me that has always baffled me. Me too. I mean, just about all of us. It just doesn't make sense.
Right.
You know.
I just can't think of anything like it. Other than there's that little. It looks like a possum or a mouse and a monkey mix or something. There's a little tiny monkey that has these orange eyes. It's nocturnal. I've seen it before at the zoo, but other than that, it's got these big like orange amber eyes. That's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah.
It has that kind of a glowing kind of eye to it, but I don't know.
Now, Chris, how do you feel about going out into the woods armed? Is that something that y'all do, or do you try not to take any firepower out there with you?
Yeah, so I'll tell you, when you're hiking in the dark, it feels a lot better to have a big stick in your hand, uh, or to have something in your hand. Even you don't know what you're going to come up against. I'm a fan of being armed just because you don't know if you're going to walk into a bear or a mountain lion or a rabid fox, or I think you need to be cautious, and
Mm-hmm.
and so I like to be armed, and I've taken steps to make sure that I'm able to do that.
Yeah, and I've said it so many times before. We go out all of our expeditions, and Wallace here can attest. I've got my gun on my hip on every single one of them, because there's more out there than just Bigfoot that can hurt you in the woods. I've said it a million times, but I'm going to do whatever I can to keep myself and whoever I'm with safe. But a buddy of mine brought up a really good point. He is a researcher out in Denver, and every time he goes out, he won't go out with the firearm, and he believes, his thought is, these things have a really good sense of smell. And if you've handled firearms, you can smell. You can smell the oil, the iron, the metal. They put off a smell. It's not a faint, or like it's a faint smell. It's not like real pronounced to us, but something with better smell might smell that. And if they smell a firearm, they're probably more likely to stay away from you. Do you think, Chris, that they know what a gun is?
Well, I think we have reports from people who've encountered them that had weapons on them, and when they reached for their gun, the animal responded very aggressively, vocally or aggressively, in a way to make them not reach for that gun. So I don't know. I think definitely they know what guns are. If I think they're pretty smart. Um, I think you look at chimpanzees and gorillas and orangutans; they're pretty smart, and they understand a lot more than we give them credit for.
Right, right. Now, Chris, where are you in the huge debate going on in the Bigfoot community of the kill or no kill? Well, What do you think? Are you behind killing one and getting it in to put this thing to rest finally to give a body? Or do you think that there's going to be a way to prove the existence without a body?
It does not seem like mainstream science is going to accept anything we have without a body. It's baffling because I just read something where they thought a hummingbird was extinct, and some person saw a hummingbird that they believed had been extinct for years, took a little photo of it, sent it in, and now they declared that that animal is still alive and not extinct, and it's accepted in the scientific community. But for Bigfoot, not so. And so there's this thing about Bigfoot that the mainstream science does not want to accept it, entertain it, or talk about it. I think we've come to that conclusion that the only way that they'll change their mind is to actually capture one alive or bring in a body, dead or alive. So I think for me personally, I mean, I would love to see, I would like it to be proven. It'd be great if you could do that without killing one. There was a way to capture one or trap one or tranquilize one to get definite proof. That'd be wonderful. I don't know how realistic that is. I
Yeah,
I mean, you're in California, right?
Yes.
Well, above you is kind of like the Sasquatch capital,
right?
In a way. And I know that when you look it up and you Google it, well, they have laws against killing a Bigfoot. Well, my theory is like if you have a law set in stone, and that means it's went through a litigation and everything. Well, when you go to litigation, you've got to show some type of proof that something's real, or how they want to pass a law.
Yeah.
To me, I think, well, we've already experienced it with one of our islands with the government. They don't want they don't want a standard person to bring one around. They want them to be able to control it, just like they want to try to control everybody else. And that's my beliefs on that. You've been there. Even Georgia actually has one, and I'm like, okay, if you went this far to make a law, how?
Georgia has what, buddy?
The same thing as Oregon. There's a protection against them.
I wasn't aware of that.
Or you'll be fined and everything. And
I haven't looked at it lately. I think Oregon had passed a statute back in the 80s or years ago. And I think a lot of people say, well, that was more of a publicity stunt to get tourists to come up there. And I think maybe some other states have done that as well. But it's just interesting. I don't know. My twin brother and I had this debate on our last trip. I was just shocked. We're driving home, and I said, you know what? What if we came up around the corner, and there on the side of the road dead was a Bigfoot, and it's dead. It's got hit by a car, or it died of natural causes. We don't know. We just find it dead. And I said, would you help me load that in the back of the truck? He said, I don't think I would. And I was like shocked. I was like, this is what we do. This is our passion, and this is what we do. And you're not going to help me load the proof that the world needs in the back of the truck. He said, no, I just want to prove it for myself. And I just want to know for myself, and that would be enough. I wouldn't want the media circus and everything else. And so we went into quite a long debate. That actually, I didn't talk to him for about a half hour. And then after that, we went into quite a debate about it. But it's funny. Some people, people have different opinions on it. I was like, wow, we didn't kill it. We didn't harm it, but we found it. And you still wouldn't want to get it proven. And that was just baffling to me, But different people have
you kind of sound like the same way we've had debates. What would you do? Because, apparently, I guess I might be possibly the only one that's ever touched somewhat sort of a Bigfoot's butt, but and it's like, what would you do if you got close to one? Well, I'm gonna get DNA somehow, some way. I'm gonna get something. I mean, it's just that's how it's kind of debate when we're out there because he carries the firearm, I'll carry a knife, and I try to do. I mean, I do have my AR with us at camp. That's like you said. We got bears and everything come out there. I'm not looking to kill, but the stronger firepower is in the camp. I go out with a knife, throw a knife, axe. And we walk. Sometimes walk the night air, and I feel less threatening in a way. And the same way as Wayne is, I want them to feel, hey, he ain't that threatening. He don't have that much on him. He's not carrying like, him. So, yeah, we've had that kind of debate too. What would we do?
Yeah.
Flat Rock here says Florida hunting regulations states you cannot bag a skunk ape, and he follows that up with kind of the same question that Walls presented. Why have that in regulations if they're not real? And I mean, y'all spoke about it a little bit, and I'll give my opinion real quick, and we'll move on. What if these regulations are on the books to protect us? What if they're on there to prevent some hunter that maybe or poacher that maybe has had one too many to drink and sees me walking in the woods with my family in my black coat and says, hey, there's a Sasquatch, shoot it. I mean, we don't know what the thinking was behind this stuff. And if you go ahead and make it illegal to shoot a Bigfoot, then maybe that will prevent someone from shooting a person accidentally.
Yeah, well, I think that if they make Bigfoot movies, they got to go ahead and post warnings and stuff around not to shoot if they see some hairy thing walking around because it could be an actor in a suit. But I think,
Old Bear.
I'm not going out to kill one.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, buddy.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, Old Bear here says it's called placating the public. Yeah, it's kind of what I spoke to a little bit. All right, Chris, you sent me some pictures here about there's a historic event that you kind of wanted to go over. Well, can you talk about that a little bit? Can you hear me, Chris?
Uh-oh.
So a lot of people don't know this event. They know the Patterson-Gimlin film. Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you were breaking up a little bit, but you're okay now, Chris. Go ahead. We're right where you just were.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah, there's a delay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead where you were, Chris. We're having some technical difficulties with Chris.
You got a delay in it. There's a delay in the system there.
The Patterson,
Chris, you're cutting out.
Gimlin film, 1967, is well known, and people know about. People know about Jerry Crew and the Footprint cast in 1958. And we still hold up that.
Chris, where you're cutting out, buddy. We're not hearing hardly any of that. Your reception isn't. You're kind of losing reception there. That's the problem with these live streams, guys. As y'all know.
We just started. It just now started when you started talking.
There's an incident in Fort Bragg that happened in 19. And in
I don't know. Can he hear us?
was a man named Clarence.
Can you text him?
Bud Jenkins.
Text him.
And his wife, Agnes Cletus Hatfield Jenkins.
All right, we're going to let take a second here. I apologize, folks. Like I said, that's a problem that we sometimes run into with these live streams, and we'll see if Chris can maybe work on his connection on his end, because Walls and I seem to be okay, and I'll stay in communication with him and see if we can't get him back, because I'm interested to hear what the account that he's talking about.
I know Ninja. You know, noticed Ninja Dave's in here, right?
Yeah, I saw him.
He just said like a signal jammer just happened. I mean, that's true. I mean, he was talking just fine. And Bear said if he's on a community Wi-Fi, then it happens. If he's on the full community Wi-Fi thing. Ninja Dave, you need to reach out to me. I've been trying to get hold of you, buddy. Love to have you at the Squatch Out.
Yes, we would love to hang out with Dave. I ain't seen him in a while. I just shot Chris a text asking him to log out and then to log back in, and we'll see if that helps out. Again, guys, I'm sorry about this. It's been a while since we've had a real bad issue with the streaming.
Yeah.
But it's out of our hands, and I apologize for that.
Yep. We're doing it. We're starting the 14th and the 15th, Dave. I just saw his comment.
Yeah, October 15th. 15th is a Saturday. 14th is a Friday.
Which I know you work, so if you can get out, come on town Saturday, and definitely come on, man. We'd love to have you.
Oh, and while we're waiting here for Chris to come back in, I am in talks. It's something I need to talk to you about. Walls, one of the things that we need to talk about.
I didn't do it.
Friday night, it looks like we are going to have a local folklore. I'm not sure what she calls herself. She's a storyteller and a narrator, and she asked to be a part of the event. So she's Friday night. It looks like she's going to be hosting a good old fashioned campfire storytelling event where over at the group center that Jordan and I reserved. Friday night, we're gonna make a big campfire, and she's gonna share some stories. And we're still working on the details there, but just another neat little thing we're talking about adding. Looks like we got Chris back. Let's see. Chris, can you hear me, buddy?
He still got a bad jammer. Yeah, still a delay somewhere.
Yeah, you've got a got something going on your end, Chris.
Put me backstage and see if it helps a little bit.
I can hear you. Can you hear me at all? Everyone.
I hear you now, Chris, but the video is frozen.
The house.
Say something, Chris.
Yeah. Okay. I'm right here. Can you hear me now?
That's good.
Okay. Well, we're hearing you. We're hearing you much better now. Can you start back up with that? The incident you said the Patterson Gimlin is more well known, but there's another one.
Yes. Something happened in 1962 in Fort Bragg, California. there was a man named Clarence Bud Jenkins, who was a long distance truck driver. He was married to a lady named Agnes Cletus Hatfield Jenkins. And they lived in a house about 4 miles south of Fort Bragg on the Fort Bragg Willits Road, which is now Highway 20. Agnes's brother, Robert Hatfield, was also a long distance truck driver. And so they had moved into this house and bought this house because it was the midway point for them. They could go north or south, and this would be a middle location. So Agnes stayed there while the guys went driving the trucks and doing their job. Well, on a rainy night, February 7th, 1962, in the pre-dawn hours, about 4:45 in the morning, Agnes got up to use the bathroom, and she saw something that she thought was a bear, and she was really concerned about it. She thought it was going to ruin her vegetable garden or her rose garden. And so her brother-in-law, Robert, heard the dogs barking, and he got up to see what the dogs were barking about. He saw something looking over a 6-foot picket fence, and it was looking over the fence at the dogs. At first, Robert thought it was just a very large bear. And Agnes and Bud Jenkins got up, Agnes's husband, to see what was going on. And he said, well, wait a minute, I'll go in the house and get a flashlight and a gun. So they had peeked outside, but he went back in the house to get the flashlight and gun. And Agnes had cleaned house and moved the shotgun and moved the shells. And so it wasn't where he thought it was. And he and her were looking for the shotgun. They finally found the shotgun, but she couldn't remember where she put the shells. And so while they're in the house looking for the gun, the brother-in-law, Robert, decides he's going to go around the back of the house. He's going to go around the house and look, get a better look at this creature or at this bear. And so he goes around the house to look in the backyard, and as he steps out from the corner of the house to look back, there's this creature, and it steps over a little 2-foot fence, and he's coming right towards Robert. And like he's within like an arm's length of Robert. As Robert comes around the house, there's this creature stepping over the fence and like right in front of him. And Robert like pushes away, falls on the ground, and starts crawling on his hands and knees back toward the house, to the door of the house. And the creature's walking right over him, following him. And Robert gets to the doorway of the house, and by then, Bud and Agnes are at the doorway with an empty shotgun. And the creature, as Robert tries to crawl in the house, and they try to shut the door, the creature puts his hand on the door to keep the screen door from shutting. And it had been raining, and creature's hands were all muddy. So maybe he had been going on all fours or something, or digging up food or something. But hand goes on the door, keeps the screen door from shutting, and they're trying to shut the door. And the creature's there, hunched over, looking inside the house. Robert's on the ground below him. Bud and Agnes are standing right in front of him. And this creature's looking in the house and kind of hunched down to look in. And an average door is like 78 inches to maybe 80 inches tall. So this creature's over 6.5 feet tall, hunched down to look in the house and kind of look around. And they said he had a curious look on its face, just kind of looking around inside the house. And so the creature, let me see. The face was described. It was described as having a big head and huge eyes with dark skin and very little facial hair. Robert Hatfield, who got the closest look at the face and took it in really close, said that its face was hairless with perfectly round eyes. And the curiosity of the animal was described as just like a big dumb kid, kind of saying what the attitude was, what's going on in this house, as it looked around. So that's the incident. And at that time, college art professor named Charles Chuck Edmonds, who went by Chuck, he was from the art department at Southern Oregon State College. He got word that there was a Bigfoot event in Fort Bragg with multiple witnesses. So he came down to Fort Bragg. He traced the muddy handprint on the door, and it's an 11.5-inch handprint from the heel of the hand to the tip of the middle finger. 11.5 inches long, and there's a picture that I took at the North American Bigfoot Museum that Cliff Brackman or Backerman, I always get the name wrong, opened a museum in Boring, Oregon, right near Portland. Just a great museum. They have a display on this. And so there's a tracing of the muddy handprint. You can see a couple of things there. It's 11.5 inches. That's one thing. The details on the prints, the dermal ridges, the dermoglyphics on the fingers were still visible. The art professor traced the handprint. He used some cellophane tape to lift the fingerprints, and there's actually a fingerprint that was lifted from this incident, and that's a picture of it at the museum that is in the North American Bigfoot Museum. So we have a traced muddy handprint with dermal ridges. You have fingerprints. Interesting, the fingerprints, the college professor noted that there was a lack of whorls in the fingerprints. So he lifted the fingerprints with cellophane tape, but the mud had dried and crumbled away on those prints a little bit. The palm of the hand was longer than a human's, and the fingers proportionally were stubby and shorter than a human's proportions of a hand. And the thumb was positioned a little bit differently than the normal hand. It's less rotated and it's less pronounced at the base like our hand. And so different morphology of the hand. So Bob Curtis, a neighbor, and his brother tracked the creature. They followed the prints 5 miles into the wilderness. And this is just new information that we just discovered from a friend of mine who had some documents that were left to him, and some documents from a group that investigated this case from San Francisco. So they came up and investigated the case. And so he's got some documentation and has talked to some people. He just lives near a couple lots over, maybe from where the actual lot might be, a couple pieces of property over. And he says the neighbor, Bob Curtis, and his brother tracked the creature 5 miles into the wilderness. And at one spot, they could see where it urinated. And they weren't sure if they think it squatted and urinated. So they were supposing that maybe it was a female. But I don't know how you would know if it was standing and urinating or squatting and urinating.
Yeah, unless you actually
Anyway,
witnessed.
they found a big puddle. Um, the sheriff was called.
Chris, I'm sorry,
The
buddy.
sheriff
You're breaking
investigated.
up again really bad. I hate to be talking over you, but you keep
That they took
skipping and
photos, and that the photos that measured the footprints were 16 inches long and made castings of the footprints that were in the garden. So after this incident, some.
all right, we're gonna let Chris work on it again just for a second. Had you heard about that encounter, the Fort Bragg encounter? I hadn't.
I've kind of heard bits and pieces of it, but not really. Never really dug into it. The only one of the military base is the one close down in Alabama, in Georgia area. That one there, and it's near us. So I haven't really, like I said, bits and pieces I've heard. So it wasn't nothing really. That's really first a lot of information out there, just in pictures. I mean,
Yeah, he's been looking into this thing. You can tell.
Yeah.
He got a lot of info. I hate that it was so jumbled up there at the end, but he looks like he's moving around in his house to try to get to a better location. We're here at the finish line.
It could be storming over there too.
And he was just outside. It looked like it was nice.
Oh well. I know they. What was it? Ron asked about. Which I think he answered it. The mud on the handprint. I wonder if they checked it for DNA.
Yeah, but this happened in 1962. So
yeah, ain't no telling what they would have had back then.
Yeah, that's all gone by now.
Do you still have his picture of his book? Pop up there, advertise it, give it a little bit of advertisement there, because I think Ron asked if we ever checked it out, and I commented on there, and I said no. I tried to find it.
It's Bigfoot Brothers. It's on Amazon. I'll put the link up. Let me see if Chris is ready.
Look it up again.
All right, can you hear me?
I hear you good.
Any luck?
You're good. Yeah, you were just when you were talking about how they were trapped. I don't know. I'm sorry, Chris. We might have to end it a little bit early.
It's the government.
Let me log out and re-log back in.
Okay.
Oh Lord, you gotta send me that link. I cannot find it. Why can't I pull that back up again? I'm on my Amazon. I can't.
Bigfoot Brothers.
I don't understand why it's not popping up. Give it a minute, maybe it'll pop up for me again. There it is. I got it. Paperback.
All right.
Paperback. Did you see the one below it?
Yeah. Hold on. Let's get Chris back.
Okay.
All right.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Oh yeah, you're perfect.
So to finish that story, I know we're running out of time. The prints were actually, there were some casted prints, and they were on display in a case at the middle school that year. But we don't know where they are now or what happened to them. And we don't have any records from the small town sheriff department from back that far that have any record of photos or anything. So we're slowly trying to piece together, and what we're trying to hopefully want to do now is to locate where that actual property is, if we can find out where that actual house is, if it's been torn down and built over or whatever. But we're still trying to uncover more details about that.
Oh, so
yes. So Daniel Perez of the Bigfoot Times He has a subscription that's great. He is the one him and Cliff have been looking into this event, and that's why it's in Cliff's museum. They've been doing a lot of investigation on it. That's where I got my information, plus my new friend in Fort Bragg who had some documents and had some more information that we just learned about.
That's really cool. I love hearing these historical encounters, and that's actually a segment that I thought about adding to our show at some point. Is trying to find somebody to research and do some deep dives into some of these historic events, because I find them fascinating. Well, Chris, I apologize for the technical issues there at the end. Live streams, you never know what you're going to get, but I think we got through it, and we could hear most of it, and I think it went well. I wanted to thank you again for taking the time to come and hang out with us, and give your book one more plug. Tell everybody where they can find it, and if there's anything else you wanted to add before we get out of here.
Yes, so my book, you can find it easily on Amazon.com. Just look up Bigfoot Brothers, and it'll pop up. It's in paperback for $14.95, hardback for $19.95, and ebook for $9.99. You can also get it online from Walmart or Barnes and Noble. If you want to go online and order it through them, you can. So you can do that. You can connect with me if you want. My author website is www.chrisbossy.com. And you can connect with me there.
Okay.
Also, I'm on Facebook. You can look up Chris Bossy on Facebook and find me there also.
Okay, and I'm going to try to add the Amazon link to the show notes here, so people can go and pick up a copy. I think Walls is going to get a copy, and I'm going to as well. He's doing it right now. Look at that. He got the plastic out. You can't beat that. All right, Chris. Again, thank you, buddy, for taking the time to hang out with us, and find some more stuff out on the Fort Bragg. We'll get you back on here for an update, okay?
Yeah, wonderful. I'd love to do that. Didn't really get to tell my other stories, so if you need to fill something in later, let me know.
Yeah, if you've got more stories, we'd love to have you back, buddy. We can definitely do that.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much.
I get mine buddy. September 6th and September 7th, Mama.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Jasper.
Take care, buddy.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Oh, cool. I can follow him on here.
All right.
You know that?
All right, man.
You know that?
What?
If you go on there to the book and thing, it actually lets you where you can follow him about the author. Follow the author to get new releases and updates.
Pretty cool. Do that.
I just did.
All right, man. You got anything before we get out of here? I've got a 14-month-old in the next room that I hear hollering for me.
Guys, I hope you guys have a good night and everything. It's good to be kind of back with my buddy. You know, he's a pain in the butt sometimes. But guys, definitely give us a thumbs up, subscribe. Also go to his podcast that way. Check it out, subscribe. I got Bigfoot and things. Come subscribe, thumbs, likes, everything you can do, guys. I'm trying to set up some things for Sundays to do a show too, and which, if you do subscribe, make sure you'll get the notifications. You'll know when I go live for the debunking thing. So it's gonna be fun. So tune in hopefully next Friday.
Yeah, you got another show Friday.
Next Friday. Same place, same channel, guys.
All right. All of that being said, I will say goodbye as well. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. We love you guys. Appreciate all the support. Y'all be safe and be good to each other. and we'll see you later.